How would you define the blue economy?
Yeah. On one hand, it can be everything that's connected to water in a coastal community. Um, I think that there's the marine technology aspect. There's fishing, commercial fishing, aquaculture. There's tourism. There's everything economically connected with water sports and recreation, right? I mean, you can start to pull all those pieces in there if you want, I guess, and environmental restoration too that happens in coastal areas and in the near shore ocean, I guess. So I guess I sometimes hesitate to lump every little thing that happens in a coastal town under the blue economy. I feel like it's things that are a little bit more directly connected um, to technology, to aquaculture, to maritime activities and environmental restoration. That's kind of what I feel is like the core, and all the science and tech that goes on along with that.
Why is this concept important for an area like Wilmington?
Couple different thoughts written down about this. Big, broadly beyond just Wilmington, a big part of this, I think, shows that there's that argument, economy versus environment, and this just kind of shows that that's a false choice. That actually those two things can go very much hand in hand, and things that are good for the environment and for coastal communities and for science and tech are massive economic drivers. So I think it's great for that piece. I think also generally it provides like a foundation and a focus for a coastal community and for its economy, something it can kind of build on versus just kind of having all different kinds of things going on with it. People always ask, with Wilmington, again, late 90s or right around 2000, left because there wasn't real professional opportunities here. That's changed because of companies like PPD or Live Oak Bank, the film industry, UNCW, but there's still, and tourism, but there's still this huge opportunity in Wilmington to build around something like that blue economy, to put itself on the map.
Do you think leaders in the area of Wilmington, do you think there is that focus yet and that collaboration? Is there even that awareness?
Yeah, that was one of the things that you asked, what are the critical areas to be developed? And I think that coming together of the community, especially the elected officials, the city council, the county commissioners, the mayor, the state representatives, even the federal elected officials, they have to be pitched and bought in on this as like, needs to be a pillar of Wilmington, not just kind of side things going on, but they have to come together around this and involve the business community, the university, and kind of those other stakeholders. It seems like it's really the university that's trying to drive this right now, and some of the businesses that are kind of involved with it. Haven't seen a lot about it in the press or on social media. So I think that there really needs to be that's a key thing that needs to happen. It seems like we're on the verge of that.
And what makes you feel that you're on the verge of that?
Just this momentum I've just seen from, the university really trying to spark it the past year or two. Yeah.
Water is complicated. It's you see it, the marine side of it. You see it in the rivers. We see it in our homes. It's a very complicated kind of network of who owns it, who's responsible for it. I think it's kind of interesting that you talked about the marine, but one of in what you're doing with this water loop conversations, but you're also on the board of this waterway and sea, which is very much about making sure that there's clean water for people that need it. Do you think people have an awareness of the importance of water and how fragile our water sources are?
Yeah, I just laugh because I mean, this is exactly the focus of my work for many years now, is the public awareness around water, looking at polling, trying to get the messages and information out there. There's some of the things that have happened in our country and then also locally have helped to raise that in recent years. The lead in the drinking water crisis in Flint, Michigan. The severe droughts that are happening out west. When you see the damage that hurricanes do. So there's been some crises that have elevated public awareness the past few years. In Wilmington, you have the Gen X, of the pollution of the Cape Fear River that was in the drinking water that has raised everybody's awareness. But I think that there's a lot more understanding that needs to take place when it comes to understanding here's where water comes from, our water supply comes from. How does it get to your tap? Where does it go when it leaves your house? What's that process, and how's that connected with all of our local waterways? So I mean, there's a lot of room for education. Being a coastal water community, I think there's a little more awareness here than other places, though.
When you think about kind of a future state of a blue economy, especially for Wilmington area, because it's something that and since you're committed there and you're passionate about it, what does that look like in the next 10, 15, 20 years, whatever that might be in your head? What is that future state? What does it look like, and what does it feel like?
Me start with mentioning a couple of those, and then I'll try to talk about maybe what that would look like. So I mentioned that coming together of the community, that's just like so vital. I wrote down a bit of a concerted marketing and branding effort. That's to get the momentum, to have it be a pillar of the region. You have to tell the story of it and make people aware. I think there has to be a like clear vision and a focus. I mentioned in the beginning, like some people tie everything to the blue economy that's happening in a coastal area. I think it could be overwhelming, or things could get bogged down if you try to pull everything into that blue economy. So I think it's like, okay, where can we start? It's aquaculture is part of this, a shorter list, if you will, rather than the kitchen sink. I think that's a critical thing in the early stages. What does it look like? Wilmington is on the map. There's buzz about it in other outside of this area. There are job opportunities here tied to the blue economy that get students from the university to stay here rather than having to leave, that attract people to move here, that they come here for jobs. They come here for graduate school, whatever it might be. So it's this big place becomes a magnet, and it becomes a place that people are aware of. I don't think it doesn't have that right now as far as this goes. San Diego is kind of the first blue economy place that pops to my mind where they're trying to do some focused work around this.
Are there, kind of these tribes, if you would, in the area that have different views of what Wilmington should be or shouldn't be?
I don't think so. I'm pretty optimistic on this front. I think Wilmington, like I said, there's been a real growth with things like PPD being here, with Live Oak Bank being here. it's a hot destination for people to relocate. I mean, I'm constantly meeting people that have moved here from other places very recently. So I think there's a tremendous amount of money from around the rest of the state. People that do well in Raleigh and Charlotte and wherever it might be have second homes here or spend a lot of time here. So I think there's like a lot of momentum, and there's a lot of people resources, and I think there's a desire to develop Wilmington into something, other than just tourism or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm pretty optimistic that there's this opportunity right now.
Do you see are the challenges to doing that?
I mean, I'd repeat a couple of the things I said before. I think that the challenge is getting the buy-in and commitment uh, from government. The various levels: local, federal, local, state, local especially. The further you get away from it, the less important. But local especially, and then the state folks, whatever incentives and tax credits and whatever it might be. There's so the elected officials, the government has got to get on board to help drive it. I think there has to be ownership. Otherwise it is who's on first, who really takes the lead on this. There has to be somebody. I always worry. I've been in government myself, worked in state government and federal government, and I see how bureaucracy and process and things can get bogged down with planning and all, just kind of too much of that. There has to be a real like entrepreneurial business spirit behind this, and not just kind of let it get bogged down in that end
Yeah.
of things, which can happen a lot. And then, like I said, what are the pieces for starting this? Don't try to be everything at once, right? Pick the handful of things, 3, 4, 5 areas where you're like, we're going to start our blue economy around aquaculture, around coastal restoration, around, whatever, a couple core things. And as you succeed, then you can add on.
Yeah.
So I think trying to be too many things could be an obstacle.
How are you thinking about, would you envision the tactics, if you would,
Mm,
of
mm.
this? Because if you just
Yeah.
turn it over to the government, then
Oh,
you know how that goes because
right.
you've been in the government. So it has to be kind of a collaborative stakeholder initiative.
Yeah. Um, and I think that is a strength, though, because that's where you find synergies, when you bring some of those different groups together that might not typically be together, or might not have been talking to each other, and then they learn more about what each other does, and they find opportunities to collaborate or to offer opportunities for students or entry level positions or whatever it is. I don't know. I think that's a key part of it. I don't know. I'd like to see Wilmington reinvented. And I think the blue economy is a way to do that. Uh, it's a really special place, physically, just the geography, this coastal environment, um, you know, the area. But I drive around, I see a lot of old little strip malls and, you know, mismatched buildings, and it needs a shot in the arm economically and from a redevelopment standpoint. And I think that I think that this blue economy, more advanced type of businesses and advanced type of economy, could be a huge part of that reinventing, reinvesting in Wilmington, kind of, cleaning it up a little bit even. Um, yeah, I think that there's so many people moving here. There's so much construction happening. What are the jobs? What are the jobs for these people? What's it going to look like?